Facebook is now live, and YouTube should be live in just a second. YouTube is online now, too.
Yeah, just a heads up. At the top of the hour, I'm going to have to scurry out of here across the hall because I got to fill in for Bobby.
Oh, top after the show ends?
Yeah.
Good deal.
There's Dave.
You got Dave on? Let me know when we got 30.
You want a 30?
Yeah, give me a 30.
All right. I had to cut you off mid-sentence because I can't hear Dave and you at the same time.
No worries. Hey, could you ask Dave quickly, Greg, if he read the Ohio CCW link I sent him by email?
He did.
Awesome. Thank you. Ever the consummate professional.
I guess he felt it was important for the show.
Defender coffee going to take about 12 days to get here from Denver. I was forced to go to Starbucks today.
Again?
Yeah, I don't have crap. The crap I have here is, I'm telling you, that Defender's good coffee. I've gotten used to it.
And we relied upon the USPS to deliver ballots.
Exactly. Yeah, we moving on up. That's right, Robin. Now, if we could just get all of those platforms to stop throttling us, that would be nice.
I think Trump is demanding the arrest of Kemp.
Okay. Is he? For what?
China connections.
Well, I tell you what, the China connections he has are bad, too. Been looking
Throw a
into
Google search real quick for that.
It's
or
no,
maybe
just go to georgiabusiness.cn and watch Kemp play the video.
Sure. I've seen that video.
It's unbelievable.
Coming up on 30.
Roger that.
5. 30.
This is Armed American Radio's Daily Defense.
Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, because they don't want me to, that's why I do it.
Presented by X Insurance. X Insurance. From the gunbroker.com studios on the Car Arms Platinum microphone.
They're never going to stop us here.
Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Indeed, welcome inside Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, the gunbroker.com studios, the Car Arms microphone lit up for you. Every single bit of it today and every day being powered by and presented to you by X Insurance. We'll talk about that in a little bit. If you're live streamers, Facebook, YouTube, we're out on both platforms now. We can chat with you, interact with you from the studio. So as we continue to grow, things get better and better and bigger and bigger. Make sure to like and share it if you're watching us. Those of you listening on all of our great affiliates across the United States today, whatever time you're getting the program, I love you. Thanks for being here. A lot to talk with you about today. So I'm just going to get right into it. My mom's favorite guest, one of my favorite people on earth, Mr. Dave Workman, joins me today. Dave, a lot to cover with you today. How are you, brother?
Well, I'm sneaking by. It's another rainy day here in the Pacific Northwest. You know,
Well, it's going to be like that for a while. I hate to disappoint you, just to let you know.
Well, no, it's hardly a disappointment. In fact, I was talking with one of the guys outside the office building, and we determined that summer here runs from July 5th until September 15th, and the rest of the year it's winter.
Well, I got to tell you, I have been out there, as you know, and enjoyed some of those summer days out there, and it is absolutely beautiful. It's pretty when it's raining. I mean, that's an area like Utah or Colorado when it snows. It's supposed to look like that. And out there, I don't know that I could take it every single day like you do. God bless you for it. But when it rains, the place is built for rain. It's really not that big of a deal, and some would call it kind of cozy. Anyway, we'll get off that train. I got a lot to Dave, I want to start by telling you a story, and we're going to talk about something that happened in Ohio. The piece came out on December 4th, and I've been kind of holding on to it to talk with you about it. But I want to tell you a story first, if that's okay.
Sure.
A number of years ago, when I lived in Connecticut, many years ago, in a past life, in a galaxy gone by, I was married to another young lady, great person. We just didn't get along. It lasted about 3 years. Young, it was high school sweetheart type thing. But I was living in Hartford, Connecticut at her aunt and uncle's. I had gotten out of the trucking business for a little bit. And I was on my way home, picked her up at work late, and was on my way home. We were coming through downtown Hartford at about 1:45 in the morning, when as I pulled up to a traffic light, it was red. I had an old Chevy, not a Suburban, but one of the smaller ones. I even forget what it was. But a little SUV, Chevy SUV. Pulled up to the traffic light when a car pulled in front of me, out of nowhere, seemingly, with a guy chewing on what looked like a straw, and had a young woman in the back seat, when all of a sudden my car was surrounded. I mean, vehicles came out of nowhere. And then I saw lights behind me, and the next thing I know, there were guns drawn on my vehicle, pointing at me. My wife had the seat next to me reclined, and she goes, "What's going on?" I said, "Don't even move. Don't lift your seat up. Don't lift your head up. Nothing." My hands were up on the steering wheel. I see cops surrounding my vehicle with guns. When I see one guy coming along the side of the vehicle, he looks into my window, and I hear him yell, and I can remember this like it was yesterday, "Nice move, satellite radio, moment, word, Wabo, wrong, satellite radio, moment, word, truck." And I see cars begin to depart. The car in front of me that was blocking me leaves. And I said, "No," the guys around me start walking away. I said, no. I opened up the window and I yelled for somebody to get over to the car. I eventually stepped out of the car. Seems that the woman in the car in front, in the car, was an undercover police sting, an operation. Apparently, my truck fit the description of someone who had attacked this woman. And as I was coming through the intersection, I remember we were moving. I had a bunch of stuff in the back windows. It looked like other people. They were looking for 4 people in a similar vehicle. I'll never forget that day. I had those guns drawn on me. It was extremely frightening. I've mentioned it on the program before. In Ohio, we had an individual, CCW permit holder. Now, at that time, I was not carrying a firearm, but I know what it was like to be surrounded by all those cops. It was petrifying. And what we've got at Buckeye Firearms reporting it is a CHL holder killed by police and the family demanding answers, and this guy coming home with a Subway sandwich. You read into this. What's your take on this?
Well, I read the story, and you left out something, Mark, and shame on you for it. There's an allegation that this young man waved a gun as he drove by the police. Now, I wasn't there. I don't know if he did or he didn't, but the allegation is out there. Now, if he did that, it was kind of stupid. If he didn't do that, then the cops are making up that story to cover for what would be not a very righteous shooting at all, because he was hit while he was carrying what I think was a sandwich or something. He'd come back from a sandwich shop. He'd stop there on his way back from, I guess, a dentist appointment. Now, from what I understand from reading the article, he wasn't brandishing a gun as he was walking from his vehicle up to the house with this sandwich or sandwiches, and he got shot at least 3 times from the back by a veteran officer, a SWAT officer, I presume.
He was.
At least that's what the story indicated. But I think this whole thing hinges on whether or not this young man waved a gun. Now, that seems a little far-fetched to me.
It does.
To be honest. I know a lot of people who carry concealed firearms, and I can't recall ever seeing any of them wave a gun when he was driving past police officers. That just is mind-numbingly stupid. If anybody is thinking about doing that, especially with New Year's Eve coming up, don't do it. Just don't.
It's flat out good advice, and there's a lot of disturbing instances here inside this story. I mentioned what happened to me a number of years ago simply because I remember how shocked I was. This came out of nowhere. Had I made a wrong move, had my wife popped her head up unexpectedly, who knows what could have occurred, okay? In this particular incident, and you're right, I did. I mistakenly left that out. It's a key part of this story. Was he getting sandwiches that looked like a gun to an officer who was part of a SWAT team looking for a fugitive as part of a U.S. Marshals? Is it legit? Did he have his gun on the seat or the console and pick it up and holster it? Did the cop actually see a gun? Here's what's disturbing. One of the cops said, Tobin, his name was Tobin, said he believes the shooting was justified, but added that the Columbus Police Critical Incident Response Team, the CERT team, will conduct an investigation that will be reviewed by the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office. So what we've got here is a recipe for disaster, Dave. In today's day and age, you're going to have an internal investigation. You have a cop who should not have said anything about whether a shooting was justified before it's been investigated, before anybody knows anything. And we want to point out that this individual was black and shot 3 times in the back. And he was found his keys were in the door. He was found as he was entering the home, and the sandwiches surrounded in a pool of blood. This is a disturbing story because and we talk about this with you today, listener, because he was an Ohio concealed handgun license holder. And as Dave Workman just mentioned, concealed handgun permit holders are the most law-abiding of all people. They don't make it a habit of waving their guns around. In fact, Dave, as you know, CHL holders, and this what we heard from his family here, said he was absolutely adamant about firearm safety, which tends to be the case with just about anybody I've ever met with a concealed handgun. They know that holstering that gun that day is probably one of the most dangerous things they're going to do. You remember George the Mad Ogre Hill used to say that holstered gun's like that rattlesnake that can bite you if you mishandle it, right? So people who carry guns know that. There's a lot of stuff in here I don't like. I'm smelling a rat, Dave, is all I'm saying.
Well, I was sniffing around. I'm not sure if I smell a rat or not yet. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Having early in my career been around, well, let's just say more than one homicide scene.
Yeah, right.
And I have always tried to err on the side of caution. Now, the problem that I have with what that officer said, that, hey, it looks like a justified shooting, that was before any investigation took place. Right. Now, it's my understanding from the reading the story that the police waited for 3 days before they asked for an investigation by, I think, the state crime lab or whoever it is here. And the state said, no, we're not going to investigate now. The crime scene's been all taken down. People have wandered away. We wouldn't know how to get a hold of witnesses.
And you see, Dave, as we go to a break, therein lies, to me anyway, the odor. The odor is there. But we're going to follow this for you. This is disturbing. We hate to see this anytime, but particularly when we know it's a concealed handgun permit holder who you would think, and we have a high probability to believe, knows better. Back after this with Dave Workman. Be right back real quick.
Right.
Keep me abreast of that 30 note, please. If that's okay.
Say something?
Yeah, just keep me abreast of that 30 note if you would.
All right. $30.
Roger that. This upcoming segment of Armed American Radio is being sponsored by Gunbroker.com, the world's largest online marketplace to buy and sell firearms, ammo, and related accessories. That's Gunbroker.com. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back indeed inside Armed American Radio's Gunbroker.com studios. Coincidence, huh? Not a coincidence when you heard that rejoiner. Gunbroker.com. If you can't find it on your shelves, you can find it at Gunbroker. That is an absolute fact. They've done more business this year than they've ever done before. And I'm going to guess that they're going to do more business over the next 2 years at least than they've ever done before. $1 billion company already. And guess what? It's free. All you have to do is go over to gunbroker.com, sign up, 100% free. Gunbroker will never charge you anything. You will likely buy something off of their services between yourself and a seller, but Gunbroker will never charge you anything. There's over 1.5 million auctions going on every single day. This is the Car Arms Platinum microphone for now. That's a hint. Change is coming. Fun changes, good changes coming. And all of this is being presented to you by xinsurance.com. Welcome back inside the studios with me. I am talking with Dave Workman, veteran journalist and just all-around good friend and great guy. Dave, there's a couple things I want to add to that concealed carry story in Ohio before we move on.
Sure.
I'm seeing comments in the comment section from all of our viewers across both platforms on YouTube and Facebook that we're streaming live on now for the video if you want to watch it, guys. Mm-hmm. But the question, any body cam footage? The answer to that is no. There was no body cam footage. The department doesn't even use it in today's day and age. That's mighty shocking, Dave.
Well, yes and no. A lot of departments still haven't equipped their guys or all of their guys with body cams. I know that there's an effort to do that, which I think is a good idea. It's funny that I've seen stories where some attorneys, defense attorneys, don't like the idea of body cams because it shows what jerkwads their clients are. But
that's true.
In this case, I think it's it's an unfortunate thing, and I'll pick that word very carefully. It's unfortunate. Now, this guy that was killed is 23 years old. His name is Casey Goodson Jr. He's licensed to carry, and from everything that I can figure out, he was just right at his door, as you mentioned in the first segment. He had his keys, I guess, stuck in the key thing in the door handle, and
they were still hanging
that's
there.
Where he was shot, and the keys were still hanging there. So, there's a lot to this case that I think has not yet been reported, and I saw where the NAACP there in Columbus was taking, I think, the appropriate position by saying, hey, everybody chill out a minute. Let's see where this investigation goes. The fact that Mr. Goodson was a black fellow, I'm not sure that does or doesn't count. If it does count, in that he was shot because he was black in public, that's a no-no. I mean, we don't allow that in the United States, or we're not supposed to. And from all that I read in the story, and there's quite a column in the Buckeye Firearms Association, I read that too. This guy was minding his own business. Yeah. He wasn't posing a threat to anybody. No criminal record, as far as I can tell, and he gets shot and killed. There better be an investigation into that, and it better find out everything it needs to find out about everybody involved.
Well, Dave, this is where some of the odor for me came from. And again, I don't have it all, but let me quote just a little bit of this. This is an important story, guys, because we care for our own. A concealed carry permit holder in Ohio is likely to have heard this program, is likely to have worked or been in many forums that you've been in, or trained in some of the same fashion you have. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, what your socioeconomic background is. If you've got a concealed carry permit holder, you're one of the near 20 million of us. And we're concerned about this. And we've seen this again. We saw this with the Castillo up in Minneapolis, Dave.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this concerns all of us as we leave to go about our business. during the day. Some of us may open carry. This concerns all of us. And I want to read Goodwin's family member speaking through their attorney, who said Casey was shot and killed as he unlocked his door and entered his home. His death was witnessed by his 72-year-old grandmother and 2 toddlers who were near the door. Unreal. Casey was coming home from a dentist appointment that day. As Casey lay on the ground dying, the unopened Subway sandwiches that he bought for himself and his family sat next to him in a pool of blood. Even hours after his death, the keys that he used to let himself in the house as he was shot and killed hung in the door, a reminder to his family of how close he was to safety. He is not alleged to have committed any crimes, has no criminal background, and was not the target of any investigation. Casey was licensed to carry a concealed weapon, and Ohio does not prohibit the open carrying of firearms. It is troubling that authorities have already stated they believe the shooting to be justified prior to any investigation taking place and before any information has been released to the family. At this point, witness testimony and physical evidence raise serious concerns about why Casey was even confronted, let alone why he was shot dead while entering his own home. And, you know, if we're being fair here and you want to be completely transparent, let's also mention that the cops have a very difficult job on their hands, okay? And many times under tremendous stress and duress, and I know many cops, as I know you do, Dave, I wouldn't want to be in their situation in many cases, particularly today. I don't know why anybody would even want to be a cop. God bless the ones that are doing the job. And if there's bad cops here, they need to be weeded out, and they need to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And this kid's life here deserves, and his family deserves justice. Not that he's dead. He's dead.
Yeah.
My God,
Yeah.
you know? Okay.
I mean, you know, you can't fix that.
No, you can't. What justice can you get?
Well, you can't. You can't fix. You can't bring somebody back from the dead. And that's why I think, you know, after reading this story, there damn well better be a full investigation on this. And again, you know, neither one of us were there. We don't really know what happened. We know what we read, but I want to know what happened in this case. And it's got nothing to do with the fact that this guy was a concealed pistol permit holder. If he was letting himself in the front door of his house and he got capped 3 times in the back, there's got to be an explanation for that.
Yeah,
and it's not because, hey, I was threatened with a sandwich. You know, that's not going to wash.
No, that's not going to cut the mustard. Now, we've seen the same thing with cell phones or cops thinking one thing or doing another. It's bad all the way around. But there's an odor here. Dave, I have a feeling you're going to follow up on this, aren't you, in the future?
Oh, yeah, I am. And okay, full disclosure here. I almost shot a guy one night in the driveway of my mother-in-law's house. This was years and years ago. She called our house. I lived about 3 miles away because she knew I'd get there before the sheriff's department was. So I had my wife call the sheriff.
Dave, a break.
Told him to meet me there.
Hold that thought. When we come back, I've got to hear this. I almost shot a guy once.
20.
That's how we're going to open up the third segment of the show. I apologize. The clock getting in the way. It always does. Fastest hour in radio. Back with Dave Workman right after this.
Did you not hear my 30?
I did not, but that's okay. I was watching the clock on it. I knew it was coming. I figured I'd probably missed it.
All right.
I was just looking for the break at that point. When I see 29 after, I know I missed something.
All right.
Here's what I do know. Since I can still hear him, I know I didn't drop a feed. And ever since we've moved over to that separate browser, we've not had one disconnect problem in months.
Yep, cool. That's fine. Hey, got some information for you that you're going to need. If you need to connect to the Comrex Access for any time in the future, I'm going to text you a password because we've had to password encode all of our devices.
You're talking about the USB Access 2.0, my brick unit?
Yeah. Whatever connects to our access on this end, you'll need a password going forward to get into it.
Okay, but we're not talking about the Opal unit here.
No, Opal is
We're talking about
fine.
the actual 2.0 physical unit.
Yes.
Okay, well, I have it on as a backup right now. I guess what I should do then is that password going to be static? Is it going to change?
No, it'll be the same.
All right, then what we'll probably do, and we won't do it now over this line, obviously, but I'll get it from you if you want to email it to me or text it to me.
I'll
because
text it.
this
It's
thing's
more
not
secure.
doing this is not doing me any good right now because I can't flip over to it right now anyway if I were to drop you. So without that password.
I'm just passing the information along because this morning we implemented passwords due to hacker attempts yesterday evening and all throughout the night. Yes.
Man, you guys have been being beaten up on that. And I'll get the password from you later. Man,
All
that's unreal. Glad you caught it,
give,
though.
Give me a sec. I got to step across the hall real quick.
Do it. Hey, guys, I got to tell you, I'm loving this multiple stream and the new plugin via the Mac that allows me to see all of the streams, comments, at this point, both from Facebook and YouTube, all on this one block here. It's fantastic. So those of you who are looking for us on Rumble, we're up on Rumble, but the last couple shows, we've not been too worried about recording it for specifically, we're focusing on other issues. But you'll see us back up there very, very shortly. This week, no doubt.
Coming up on 30.
All right, let me know.
$30.
Back to Armed American Radio's Daily Defense with Mark Walters.
Welcome back inside Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom here in the gunbroker.com studios. Gunbroker.com, make sure to visit them. It's free. I'm on the Car Arms Platinum microphone. And we are all this is all being brought to you by X Insurance. If you're watching on the live streams, make sure to like and share the post. And those of you who might not be, if you want to watch us live, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, and 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time on Sundays on hundreds of radio stations across the country, Facebook.com/Armed American Radio, and YouTube, Mark Walters, and then in parentheses, Armed American Radio. You might have to search for a little bit before you find the channel there on YouTube, but nonetheless, we are streaming on both platforms, and you can talk to us in the studio on both platforms. We're able to see you and get to your questions. Even if we can't get to them, we do see every single one of them. So we appreciate you every single day for being here. And again, all of this is being brought to you by X Insurance, and there's a lot more to come for 2021, I can promise you. Carrying on the conversation on Fastest Hour in Radio, no doubt, with Dave Workman. Dave, you said, I almost shot somebody. Let's just go there. You almost shot somebody. Tell us what happened now that we have some time.
Well, it was pouring down rain, as I mentioned in the earlier segment. This is at night. It's like, I don't know, 9 or 10 o'clock at night. My mother-in-law there was a guy up at her house. He lived about, 3 miles from where we lived. So I boogied up there while my wife called the county sheriff. And at the time, I knew all the sheriff's deputies up there because I'd been the editor of the small town weekly newspaper. We all knew each other. So I get up there, and here's this guy backing out of her driveway. And I blocked him in, jumped out of the car. I knew he'd been inside the house, and I yelled at him to get out of the car. And again, remember, it is pitch black out except for the reflection from the porch light, which is, I don't know, probably 20 yards away. And he came out of the car. He had something glimmering in his left hand. And I yelled at him to drop it. And I was about, I don't know, probably 12 feet across the distance of two cars.
Mm-hmm.
I used my vehicle for cover. And he opened his hand. I mean, it was his car keys. And I took that extra second because only about a week or maybe 2 weeks before that, there was a shooting in Seattle in which a police officer fatally shot a guy in an alley. He saw a glint in the guy's hand. The guy happened to be carrying, if I recall correctly, it was some kind of a bottle opener. You remember those old can openers and bottle openers? And they were all nickel plated, and they all showed up real good in dim light. So I held him there in that rain at gunpoint until my two brothers-in-law showed up, and then we waited for the sheriff to show up. And it was an interesting few minutes, and it came that close.
Yeah.
And I was fully prepared because I didn't know what had happened, what had transpired inside that house between the time that my mother-in-law called. She's passed away years ago, but and it took, I think, it took me 7 minutes to get to her house. And
7 minutes. That's important, though, Dave. That's important, though. That's 7 minutes. That's important.
And so the sheriff's deputy showed up, and I was waiting outside for him. Because I knew this guy wasn't going to do anything with my two brothers-in-law sitting in there. And they came over and talked to me and said, what the hell's going on here, Dave? And I said, well, I took this guy down at gunpoint. He's a little goofy, and we got it finally sorted out, and he'd been on drugs, and apparently he'd grown up with my wife and brother-in-laws. He's some guy that just showed up there one night, and he was nutball, and they took him down to a rubber room at Harborview and they kept him for observation, I think, for 72 hours. But so I understand, believe me, from the perspective of somebody who could pull that trigger, whether you do or you don't. I mean, you have to make that decision in a split second.
Yes, you do.
And believe me, I'd never try to second guess a police officer who fired in the belief that his life was on the line. And you know this because I've told you this story before, but I interviewed a guy who shot and killed an axe-wielding nutball that tried to kill him inside of a convenience store here about 5 years ago. And he had that decision to make too, and the decision was the weapon was being swung, and he shot this guy 3 times at point blank range, put him down, and he walked. The sheriff's detective showed up, same county, same bunch of guys. They looked at the video about 4 or 5 times, and I looked at the video at least that many times. It was a perfectly clean shoot, but you have to make that decision in an absolute split second. And then you're going to be judged in retrospect by a whole bunch of people who have the luxury of being able to sit there and analyze everything you did.
Well, now Dave, let me stop you there for a second, because in today's day and age, we used to give our cops benefit of the doubt. Always.
Mm-hmm.
In today's day and age, the mob gets to make a decision before a judge or jury sees, before an investigative unit sees anything. In many cases, a mob gets to make a decision. And I don't have to take you back. We don't need to rehash those incidences.
Yeah, I'm so glad that I read where the NAACP was saying, hey, cool it for a minute. Let's find out what really is going on here. So, good for them. I give them high marks for that.
Yeah, I do too. And you mentioned it, and I think it's important to note, you mentioned it took you 7 minutes to get over there. How long did it take the cops to get there from the 7 minutes it took you to get there?
About 12.
Okay, so
They
you're
were
talking
on
a total of
call.
about 20 minutes, guys. Okay, that's an important part of the story, but a different conversation altogether. All right, Dave, let's move on now. I'm glad we talked about that. That story has a lot of legs, and Dave, I know, is going to be on it, and I can promise you, listeners and viewers, that Dave will be here to talk about it. All right, let me go now to your Ammo Land column, and this is extremely disturbing, but not anything that we didn't know was going to happen. We've been talking about it on the program here for a while, and that is your article 4 days ago now, I guess it's been, Biden to move quickly against guns. Biden to move quickly against guns. Just the headline itself is disturbing, and I'm going to let you take the next 2 to 3 minutes before I have to cut you off again because time flies so fast. Go ahead and tell us what's going on. What do you know?
Well, I wrote that column because of a story that a columnist named Paul Bedard, he's a veteran Beltway reporter. The guy's been around there, almost forever. I guess I've been reading his byline for a long time, and he said this in the lead paragraph. Or it might have been the headline kicker, where Biden is going to move fast on guns. And no sooner did I write that column than here yesterday, Biden and Harris are, I would say, exploiting the tragedy at Sandy Hook to call for more gun control laws. Of course, they're calling it gun reform laws, but we all know it means the same
We'll talk
thing.
about that in the next segment, what they mean by that, okay? But, don't jump ahead of me.
And so this column that I wrote at Ammo,
30.
You can read it. Biden to move fast on gun. Over 200 reader reactions. Yep. I mean, that's just mind-numbing. Usually you get maybe 15 or 20 or sometimes even 30 I've gotten, but over 200 reader reactions. That thing has been shared more than 4,000 times from what I understand. And so it's all over the place, and it has really hit a raw nerve because, as you mentioned going into this conversation, we knew this was coming.
We knew this was coming. We knew it was coming from day one. He had it plastered all over his website. When we come back, I'm going to continue this conversation with Dave, but I'm going to preface it with an interview I did internationally today on Ireland news talk radio all across that country. I was getting hit from the left. Back after this. Any more on Trump's tweets about Kemp? I haven't had time to look.
I haven't looked too much into it. I saw a video commentary. That's where I got that from, but I read in the background the screenshot of the tweet. I didn't quite see who it was coming from, but it was something to the effect of, at the same time of the firing with Bill Barr, it was conjoined with Trump doesn't like to fire people and he really hates to send them to jail. And it was at Brian Kemp and the Secretary of State, I believe, for Georgia.
Jim Acosta is a real piece of shit.
He is.
By the way, I got to hand it to Kayleigh McEnany today, who just abused the liberal reporters in the press conference today when she just buried them for covering nothing about Swalwell and Biden.
Yep. Yeah, you know they're not going to cover that.
Now that piece of shit Acosta yells out after she's already left the podium, "Isn't it hypocritical for you to accuse others of disinformation when you spread it every day?"
What a twerp.
Yeah, I know. Don't I don't want to carry my anger into a live mic, but I will tell you this. The beautiful part about all of this is going to be watching the shift in these reporters' attitudes, which is going to just they're just done. They're cooked. Their goose is cooked.
Yep.
They're going to own it. Just like Chicago Democrats own everything about Chicago for the last century, there is absolutely no way they can get out of any of this ever again. And it might be the beginning of actually righting this ship that is the biased mainstream press. It's possible we may be able to take it back.
Well, I follow a new news source. It's called NTD, Nancy Tom David. If anybody out there listening wants to watch them, they have great unbiased news. And
Give me that 32 when we get a chance, okay?
30.
Oh, there we go. 30, nice. The following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by Defender Coffee. When you drink Defender Coffee, you're making a donation to a gun rights organization of your choice that protects and defends your freedoms. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the show, indeed. Let me knock just a little bit of business out of the way here before we get going. I'm seeing in a lot of the comments in there about Defender Coffee. Defender Coffee, I was talking with Derek yesterday, both my wife and I were, by the way, because we're jonesing for our coffee order, and it is not Defender's fault. But as you can imagine, a couple things going on. Another coffee company kind of stepping on it has lent itself the Defender Coffee, sent a lot of people to Defender Coffee, which should have been there in the first place. But orders are very slow, and you combine that with a post office that's overwhelmed, and my coffee order, which normally comes every 28 days, has shipped about 10 days ago and is still, I think, just left Denver yesterday, we confirmed. So I was forced to go and I just didn't want the garbage I had at home anymore, so I went and I got myself one of those ones with the other company, and I've got just a tiny bit of it left. So it is the U.S. If you've ordered from Defender, and many of you have, Defender has something on their website telling you that there are some U.S. Postal Service shipping delays, but it's defendercoffee.com. Please make sure to use the promo code, as many of you have, and donate. I donate my portion of the profit to the Second Amendment Foundation. That's their shtick. When you order the coffee, where do you want your profits to go? Mine go to the Second Amendment Foundation, and that's a beautiful thing. Don't forget the rest of our sponsors. This is gunbroker.com, 100% free. Gunbroker.com. The Car Arms Microphone. You hear Justin Moon, the CEO on the program, every single week in the roundtable. Big changes coming up, by the way, in January. Stay tuned for that. MyPillow.com. You guys are killing it. Please support Mike Lindell. Use the promo code AAR, mypillow.com, radio listener specials. It makes a huge difference. It helps keep us on the airwaves, and it supports that man against all the vicious attacks as he supports President Donald Trump. And, of course, as I mentioned, the Second Amendment Foundation, North American Arms, the minis, they're unbelievable. We're going to try to get the North American Arms back on, Sadie Sweat back on the show before the end of the year. And guess what? Front Sight. You're going to start hearing a lot more from Front Sight. Visit trumpsarmy.us to hear everything Dr. Piazza and I talked about on Sunday. Sign up to find out what he's doing to form Trump's army. Get those emails, and you will get a free certificate for $2,000 for a 4-day course. Use it whenever you want. Free, 100% free. You will not get bombarded with emails. You'll get updates on Trump's Army, trumpsarmy.us, and, of course, Lead Slingers Whiskey. Seriously, this transforms to the Lead Slingers Whiskey microphone on Sundays. LeadSlingersWhiskey.com to find out where all their products are near you. Dave Workman, let's jump back into kind of closing out today's program. And I wanted to go somewhere with you, but I got so wrapped up in the conversation. Remind me where I wanted to go. Can you do that?
Well, we were talking about firearms.
You didn't.
Biden's gun control.
Biden's gun control is where we wanted to go. Thank you.
Yeah,
Greg. I got to rely on my producer there because I was looking at so many things and talking about so many things different during the break. Hey, here's something
frankly,
real quick.
Mark, you sound like you've been drinking too much coffee.
I probably have, but I'll tell you what. This is when I'm going to gun reform, right? Doobie says gun reform.
Yeah,
but I said,
gun reform. Yeah.
Go ahead. It'll come back to me.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. The linguistics that these people use is what I've come to call camo speak, and that's just camouflage speech. It's one of those things. I suppose they could have used it in 1984 if George Orwell had copied my stuff. But in all seriousness, when they talk about gun reform and gun safety, they're talking about gun control. And they know it. We know it. They know we know it. We know they know we know it. Everybody knows this. It's just one of those things. And it's kind of silly, really. But unfortunately, the establishment press kind of crawls in bed with these guys, and that's the language that they use. But they were at the point where they could use the Sandy Hook anniversary, which was yesterday.
Yeah, sickening.
And I think we all remember that. It was a horrible, horrible tragedy.
Sickening.
But now they're using the anniversary to call for more gun control, and this is on the heels of my column that got published last Friday at AmmoLand about how Biden is going to move quickly on guns. All the signs lead to that, and I don't think that after yesterday there's any way that he's not going to be moving fast on guns. We saw this coming. We said that right as we closed out the last segment. Everybody knew this was coming, and yet some gun owners actually voted for this guy. And then they said, well, we didn't like Trump. We didn't like the way he tweeted. We thought he kind of a show-off. Didn't like anything. We didn't hire Donald Trump to be our new best friend or our neighbor. We hired him to be the president of the United States. You're not going to like a guy who does that as long as he does the job. And frankly, he did the job pretty good, I think. Now we're going to see how long it takes for the Biden bunch to start claiming credit for the good stuff, and if this COVID serum, the vaccinations, if that doesn't work, they're going to blame Trump for rushing it when they had been demanding all through the summer, hey, where's the antidote? Are the shots for the you're taking too long. I mean, the poor guy couldn't win for losing.
Well, Dave, you're right. Here's the thing, but it's perception, right? Because he did win for losing. The problem is the media never gave him credit for it. And that's where the narratives get driven. That's where people see things and hear things. It's where they get the vast majority of information. It's why I can't say what I want to say about a guy like Jim Acosta without getting thrown off the airwaves and getting everybody fined. So I'm not going to do it. I'm simply going to say it's how and why people like Jim Acosta get away with what they get away with. Okay. And it's why I got to stop there or I'm going to get myself in trouble. I get so angry. I do not want to bring Angry Mark out at the last segment of the program. I just don't want that to happen. But nonetheless, you are correct. You are 100% correct there. So I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to get in trouble.
Well, yeah, we'll leave it there. But, yeah, I've got a message on my screen from the Daily Caller here. It says Jim Acosta yelled something at Kayleigh McEnany about spreading disinformation. That guy's an embarrassment.
Well, let me tell you exactly what happened. I'll tell you exactly what he did. Here's what happened in that press conference that you're referencing from Daily Caller. McEnany went up there and absolutely skewered the liberal media at the press briefing today for 100% ignoring the Eric Swalwell Chinese hooker spy story that we all know he's guilty of. We all know what he was doing with her. And we all know. Media won't cover it. ABC, NBC, and CBS gave it absolutely zero time. The Hunter Biden story, zero time. And the Hunter Biden story is continuing to grow. It will impact Joe Biden. And it will impact him to a point that even the liberal press won't be able to ignore it. McEnany skewered them for that. As she was leaving, that idiot, Jim Acosta, yelled out. He screamed at her on the way out. He said, and I quote, "Isn't it hypocritical for you to accuse others of disinformation when you spread it every day?" And before she walked around the corner.
60.
These guys are going to get theirs. They're going to get theirs. And when they do, I'm going to be there leading the charge, laughing at them. Dave, I hate to do it, but I got to go. You got 15 seconds to tell everybody where they can go find you. Take it.
Okay, Ammo Land, Liberty Park Press, thegunmag.com, Conservative Firing Line, American Handgunner Insider Online every Friday morning.
I'm sitting there counting it out, that 6 places. He's also at the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms.
30.
Out there toeing the line at the Second Amendment Foundation. And a big hats off, Alan Gottlieb is at the White House for the Christmas party tonight. Whatever information I get from him, I'm going to forward to you on this show and on Tweets and Parler. Enjoy the rest of your day. God bless you for being here. I'll see you on the radio tomorrow, even though they don't want me to. See ya.
You've just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by X Insurance. X Insurance on the Armed American Radio Network.
All right, man, I got to go across the hall. I will catch you mañana.
Roger that.
Later, and I'll text you that password.
Guys, fun stuff. Hope you enjoyed the program today. It's always fun with Dave. I run out of time, but so many things I wanted to talk with him about today, and we don't get a chance to get to all of them. Unfortunately, fastest hour in radio, no doubt. But I am digging the new multi-platform, so please make sure to like and share it and get everybody you can to subscribe. We'll be putting on a big marketing push for that in 2021. Over the last couple of months, as you know, we've been gearing up for that, and we've been out on Facebook Live and YouTube, and now we've got the multi-stream available to us. So we'll see what platforms come available to us there. Rumble, we have slowed down. Might get part of this show up for you on Rumble today. I'd like to get the show from yesterday up on Rumble, but we've had some problems with that. I don't know why. No big deal. And I'm really enjoying the fact that we're able to chat in real time with you now across multiple platforms, which is a beautiful thing. So please, make sure to tell your friends, family, neighbors, gun owners, gun haters, whoever it is. Oh, and you know what? I just remembered what I wanted to open that segment with, my interview in Ireland. So I'll tell you about it because you're still here. So I was asked a couple days ago. I've done tons and tons and tons of international interviews all over the BBC on a host of national radio programs across London, or across Great Britain, across Scotland, across this was an Irish national radio program. I've done them in the Middle East. I've done them on Russian television. It's remarkable how other countries across the pond just are so fascinated with Americans' gun rights. The hosts generally hate me, but I don't talk to the host because those people in Europe who have lost their gun rights love me because they've lost the right. And they're jealous. They're envious. And when I don't get into a pissing contest, a screaming match, which is what the host is trying to goad me into, I don't fall for that. I've been doing this a long time. If you do that, you lose immediately. I let them go nuts, and then I talk directly to the listener. And it gets them every time. I get more email. Some of the best emails I've ever gotten have come from foreign listeners in Australia or in New Zealand or in Great Britain or Ireland or Scotland or whoever else was listening to the interview, because they all know what it's like to lose their gun rights. So having said that, you can always tell when you're going to get hit from the left. And I knew this was coming. I think I mentioned it yesterday after the show. They asked you to do a test over Skype, which I did, and that was yesterday. And they wanted me to, they do what they call a pre-interview is what they refer to it as. And what they'll do is they'll begin to ask you a series of questions, and you can tell how you're going to get hit from the host, if you've never talked to that host before and don't know who they are, from the left or right, based on the questions that they ask you. If every single question they ask you falls in line with what they know is your political views. For example, if they're all pro-gun questions, if they're all pro-conservative questions, if they all fall in that armed American radio genre, if they all fall into the conservative talk radio genre, you know you're going to get whacked from the left. What they're doing is they're trying to psych you out to get you to think, oh, this is going to be a fun interview. You have American hosts that do the same thing. Tom Hartman, he's a piece of shit. He does the same thing. His staff will ask you all these questions. They think you're stupid. And then, of course, anybody who doesn't know that Tom Hartman is a far-left bomb thrower, he doesn't let you get a word in anyway. He just wants to hear himself talk so he can tweet out that he bashed a conservative. But it tends to be the same thing overseas. So these guys hit me with a lot of really good questions from the right. So when I went into the interview, I was fully expecting to get hit from the left. But I got to tell you something. The guy who I spoke with today, I think his name was Tom Dutton, something like that. He was outstanding. Yes, he was far left, completely far left. But the whole purpose of their show was they're doing a weekly special on conservative viewpoints in America about Donald Trump. And being a leftist outfit, they genuinely want to hear. They didn't want to argue with me. They wanted to hear my position on guns, Donald Trump, what I thought about the election, what America thought about the election, etc. And it was a very, very good interview. I tried to record it, but only half the interview came out, and that was me, only my audio. So I have my responses, but I don't have the questions. And the reason is because we were using Skype and the plugins in the studio. It all runs through multiple boards, and I didn't have the input for Skype set properly. And I didn't want to make any changes because I'm simply not that concerned with it. But I do have my responses. So you can kind of garner what I was being asked by my responses. But anyway, it was a very good interview. The host was incredibly respectful, and I really enjoyed it. So hopefully we can do that again in the future. But I didn't know where to send you. I couldn't tweet it out. I had no idea where to tell you to go, but the interview was at 10:40 this morning. Ireland News Talk. If you can find it, have at it. If you find it, send me the link. I'll be more than happy to put it up on social media somewhere, okay? All right, guys, we're going to get the podcast up for you. We'll get the video up. Hopefully get today's, or at least 3/4 of it, not the first segment because we were doing some testing behind the scenes, but we'll get segment 2, 3, and 4 up on Rumble for you, and also hopefully yesterday's program as well, okay? So enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you on the radio.